Hello and welcome to my channel In Search of Wonder. This is my weekly reading wrap-up. So, story about what is in my cup today, which is not actually from Starbucks. I'm only using the Starbucks reusable cup. At my school, one of the things that I do at Christmas time and at the end of the year to express appreciation to my coworkers is I bring in my espresso machine and I make a latte or Americano for everybody. And I always try to bring in like a homemade syrup or something and offer a particular kind of flavor. So this year we are doing something new. Not only do our upper school students have houses, which is not new, that's been a thing for a long time, but this year we added houses for the staff. And all the houses are based off of literary residences. Sadly, I did not get put on the Pemberley house. I know, that was very tragic. But I was put in House Camelot. And so in our recent staff meeting, the challenge for the houses, which we have these challenges on a monthly-ish sort of basis, was to do a quick skit. And so in our skit, as part of it, one of the characters was at a coffee shop and she was drinking a camel latte. And so our skit was actually quite amusing, if I do say so myself. Well, I can say so because I really had like this much to do with it, which is basically nothing. So anyway, it was pretty funny and people enjoyed the little camel latte thing. And so I had the brilliant idea to make camel lattes for whoever wanted them. So I had found this recipe for old-fashioned salted caramel sauce made with molasses, and it adds like this richness and this hint of like Christmassy flavor to caramel that I love. I've used that sauce for caramel popcorn before. I've used the molasses-based sauce and I loved it. So good. And it also makes a great sauce to put in like a syrup to put in lattes or whatever. So that is my camel latte. So it's a latte with molasses-based salted caramel sauce, which I drizzled on the inside of the cup and then drizzled on the top. So that is what I'm drinking today. I think I could probably afford to put a little more of the caramel sauce in. This is my sample cup because I'm making them tomorrow. I think I can probably afford to put some more in the ones tomorrow. I think I'll do that. What I have read this week so far. I have DNF'd a book and I finished a book so far and I have two things in progress. So let's start with the DNF. I was very sad about this and I kept trying. I kept thinking, you know, this isn't actually like, there's enough about this book that I am enjoying that I can push through what I don't like. But then I just ended up giving up about, I don't know, like maybe 20% of the way in or maybe a little less than that. What I DNF'd was Murder on the Christmas Express, which is a riff off of Agatha Christie's Murder on the Orient Express, which I really enjoyed that book. And I was really enjoying so many things about this one, Murder on the Christmas Express. And I forget the name of the author, but I'll have the picture up here. So let me tell you what I was enjoying. And some of you will probably love this book and the things that bothered me might not bother you. So you can get it and you might love it. I didn't find any flaw in the writing for the most part. I was enjoying the cleverness of it. It's very clever. And in the beginning, there were some anagrams that you have to find throughout the story, which is really cool. I found that my brain didn't do very well with that because she had a list of like 12 to 15 of that. I think if there would have been like 5, I would have done better, but I just couldn't even I couldn't keep track in my mind of what the anagrams were so that I could be like looking for them. My memory is just not that great. So I even bookmarked that page so I could like flip back to it, but I couldn't keep it in my brain long enough. But that was so fun. It was such a fun element to the story to add this puzzle to it. She also had a couple of other things like scavenger hunt kind of things to look for in the story, which was fun. So that was clever. The writing was great. Like it engages you right away. It shows, it doesn't tell. It gets you involved in the characters' lives. And you want to read more, you want to know what's happening. It's pretty good writing overall. But there were a couple of things I didn't like. One was there was a lot going on in the story. I think it wasn't honed in enough on the really important details. And I think that she was obviously going off of Murder on the Orient Express, in which you have a whole bunch of different characters that you're introduced to and all these different backstories and whatever. And she's kind of doing the same thing, but it's just not as focused. And it was very difficult to understand. I think there was just some things that could have been like completely edited out, and it would have been a little bit more finely, what's the word I'm looking for? Like just if the focus could have been a little bit cleaner in the narration. So that was one thing. And that combined with some other content related things just made me give up, because I felt like there was some treasure here in this book, in this story, but I was having to wade through muck to get to it. And it just became not worth it to me. So some other things that were making it not as good of an experience as I wanted it to be were some cussing. And as far as I got in the book, it wasn't like a lot. So if it had been only that, I may have, persevered and read all the way through. But at the same time, it wasn't like minor cussing, it was minor cuss words. It was, like the big ones. And I don't know, I'm just not a big fan of profanity in books. Like I said, a couple here and there sprinkled if there's enough otherwise in the story to keep me reading, then, I can set that aside. That's fine or whatever. But that was just one element. And also I know that some people do not want to encounter any profanity. So if that is the case for you, then you should not read this book. You will not enjoy that. Then the other thing was there was just some other content in the story that if it had remained like kind of off screen, so to speak, extra characters, that would have been one thing, but it just kept becoming more and more and more of this story. And at the point to where I was reading, it wasn't even relevant to the story at hand as far as I got. It may end up being relevant, but in either case, it just seemed like the author was trying to shoehorn representation of alternative lifestyles into the storyline. And it was enough that it just was too much for me. So because of all of that, like I said, I felt like I was wading through muck to get to the good stuff, and there was good stuff. So I gave up on it. That was Murder on the Christmas Express. I was very sad to quit reading that one. That was one that I had picked for the Christie's Missing Readathon. So I am currently reading A Holiday for Murder by Agatha Christie. And this is obviously, Agatha Christie was a master at what she did. And the writing is tight, and the characters are introduced, but you're not confused between them. And they're all very clearly defined, but you don't spend any extra time with any of them beyond what you need for the story. So it's just that the narrating is just much more finely tuned, and contrasting the two up against each other back to back made it really obvious. So anyway, I'm not very far in this. I'm finished the first part. It's divided into 5 parts. They're 5 days in a row around Christmas time, like the week of Christmas. And I finished the first one, and I'm on the second part, and I'm enjoying that one. Looking forward to finishing that one up soon here. I don't know if I'll get to it by the end of the week or not. And then the book that I finished was A Winter by the Sea by Julie Klassen. And I have to be honest, I was a little bit disappointed in this one. I really enjoyed the first book in this series, which I forget what it was called, but that one was enjoyable. The Sisters of Seaview. Yeah. I was really enjoying the Bennett sister vibes and the March sister vibes that the books gave. And I loved the kind of slow pace of the story. I enjoyed that. I don't always love that in a book, but when I know that it's going to be. You know, I can settle in and like just enjoy that. And so I enjoyed that in the first book. And this one, it just, because there were other things about the story that I was not liking as much, it felt too slow. Probably wasn't any slower than her other ones. There wasn't enough to make me love it. So it wasn't enough to keep me reading, but in the end, not my favorite by Julie Klassen. I honestly much prefer her standalone novels that she wrote previously, like some years ago. I don't know when exactly, but I've read quite a few of her standalone novels where there's a lot more emotion and there's a lot more, I don't know what the word is, passion to the story. They're not just gentle stories. There was a lot more going on. There was a lot more, some of them had some mystery. They had a lot of intense experiences and emotions that the characters were going through. I really liked those. I enjoyed that, Julie Klassen. This is not as much my favorite. And I also disagreed with a couple of things. And I'll just tell you what they were. So if this is all fine with you, like, I'm not judging anybody or anything. Just for me, it just rubbed me the wrong way. I disagreed with it, and it kind of pulled the book down for me. One is there is a fortune teller in this story. Now, here's the thing. The things that happen in this story that involve historic characters are things that actually happened for the most part. Like the Duke of something, whatever, Prince Edward, father of Queen Victoria, he and his wife and baby Victoria, who's not a queen yet, are in Sidmouth at the same time that our fictional sister family is. And that is true, and that is real. Some of the characters that are in their coterie are genuine historical characters. Some of the incidents that happen in the story are actual historic incidents. So there's a lot that's going on in this story that is factual and based on real incidents. And that I enjoyed. I really loved that. So that is the thing about this one incident that bothered me. There is a fortune teller, and apparently there was genuinely a fortune teller in Sidmouth. Now, I don't know that she made the prediction that she did in this book in quite the same way, or even the same prediction. I don't know if like what she actually said and predicted was factual. But what I did not like is that it was just presented in the story as being perfectly normal and maybe a little bit like off-putting, of course, because her prediction was not exactly pleasant. Maybe off-putting, but not necessarily held forth as wrong or false or sinful or anything, which being a Christian fiction published by Bethany House, I was a little bit disappointed in that. Now, I get it if it was an actual historical incident that happened, keeping it in the book, like that would make sense. But at the same time, I still would have liked a little bit more of a stance from the perspective of the narration that it was not right or good, you know, if that makes sense. Being a Christian fiction, a secular novel, whatever, but being a Christian fiction book by Bethany House, I was a little bit disappointed with that. The other thing is, and this is lesser for me, like it was a love triangle, which that doesn't really bother me in stories. I think it's just the way that this one was done. And Emily is the main character. She's likable and everything, but she's thoughtless. And she's putting herself in situations where she knows she is interested in this gentleman, and she's also intrigued by this gentleman. And there's, you know, this history with the one, and, you know, that's part of it. She's kind of like feeling her way, trying to understand what she really wants and who she really wants, etc. So I get all of that, but at the same time, she is regularly, thoughtlessly putting herself in situations where she is falling for both of these guys and making them fall for her. And that kind of girl irritates me. I'm just going to say it. Okay. That kind of girl irritates me. So I don't like it when girls thoughtlessly play with guys' emotions and don't take the time to think through the consequences of their interactions with men. And they also don't really sit down and take the time to analyze their own heart and think through the situation. So yeah, that wouldn't have been enough in and of itself for me to not like the story at all, but it was just another thing that was like, okay, not my favorite kind of story to tell, not my favorite kind of character. And there wasn't enough in the story otherwise to make up for that, if that makes sense. If there had been other elements of the story that, or more depth to the storyline or the characters or whatever, then I could have overlooked that, but there wasn't. And then finally, the other thing that just was probably the number one thing that just pulled the whole book down for me is that there was a side plot involving a side character that was used to kind of create this conflict and tension in the story that was completely unnecessary, could have been eliminated, and you still would have had an interesting story. I don't know what the point of it was, because it was so far-fetched and it was so unbelievable and it didn't make sense to me. Furthermore, the resolution to that conflict involved deceit. And as I talked about in a book that I read earlier this fall, Color the Sidewalk for Me, I think it was. Anyways, a similar situation where the conflict was resolved by intentional deceit. And both of these examples that I'm giving are Christian fiction novels. And again, to me, that's just completely unbiblical. And the person, I don't want to spoil it, so if you don't want to be spoiled, maybe skip ahead. I'm trying to say it carefully, but the person in question did something wrong, or almost did something wrong, intentionally, for good reasons, like good motives, I should say, had good motives, but they did something wrong. And no bones about it, it was wrong. But then he changed his mind, but he still had to account for his actions. And so he lied. And three or four other characters, main characters in the story, supported him in the lie and were witnesses to a lie. Like, they confirmed his lie. They all knew it was a lie. And that did not sit well with me at all. I strongly disliked that aspect of the story, and it took it down for me. I did not like that. The other thing, and this is lesser, this is a minor irritation. The other thing that I did not like was one of the sisters in the story, all tied up in this same storyline with the conflict and the tension that is created. She goes and she tries to fix it. And the thing is that she's a strong person, but she's a quiet person, and she's not really a meddling sort of person. But she goes and meddles in this person's affairs and is trying to fix everything. And if there is anything I cannot stand besides a female who is leading men on, that is a meddling female who thinks that she can fix everything that's wrong with other people and just sort out all of their problems and fix their situations for them. And that frustrates me. So it frustrates me when it is presented as good in a book, because it's not good. Like, we can't go around and fix everybody's problems. Sometimes it's just not our place to fix other people's problems. Sometimes they have to learn from the consequences of their actions. And I'm overthinking it, honestly, is the truth of the matter. So that sort of thing may not bother you at all in the story, but it's one of the things that kind of rubs me the wrong way. Managing females leading men on, when those things are presented, like, it's fine if they're in a story, but they're not being presented as healthy and good things. But when they are presented as being, at best, perfectly fine and normal, or at worst, healthy and good, and like behavior that we should aspire to, I don't like that. So there was a lot that I ended up giving it 3 stars. To be honest, it's more 2.5 stars. But I did enjoy the setting. I did enjoy the royal family aspect that was brought into it. There were other parts of the storyline that I enjoy. Emily and the gentleman that she ends up with in the story, because, you know, there's a bit of like that thread of romance there in the story. Like, I liked that guy. He was a good guy. But those other aspects of it just weighed it down for me, and I did not overall enjoy it as much as I enjoyed the first one. But I do want to read the third one in the series because it is about their older sister Claire, and there's a lot of mystery surrounding her story, and I feel like her story might be a really good one, and it might have a little bit more of that emotion and the passion that I'm used to in Julie Klassen's books. So I'm looking forward to the third installment in the series. Now, I don't know if I will have a chance to get back on here and make another clip. I don't know if I'll have time, first of all, and I also don't know if I will finish anything. I'm reading A Holiday for Murder. I'm also reading Othello by Shakespeare. I'm a little more than halfway through that one, so I may finish that and be able to do a quick clip about that. But that's what I've got going on. And I have one more day of school tomorrow, and then Saturday I'm busy with parties, but then after that my life slows down a lot, so that will be wonderful. So we'll see though if I have time to make another clip before Sunday. If not, thanks for watching, and let me know your thoughts. And do you think that I'm just being too hard on these books? Because this kind of bum reviews here, so let me know if you think I'm being too hard, if you think I'm being silly with my thoughts about these things that irritate me. And, you know, feel free to tell me to just get over myself. That's fine. I can take it. So just let me know what you think and if you agree with my thoughts, and I will talk to you next time. Bye. Hello, it's Friday evening, and I am officially on Christmas break, which is wonderful. Also, I'm not looking my best at the moment, but you know what? We're just going to film this and send it off for the whole wide world to see, and we're not going to care about that because I don't have time to fix myself up. I haven't finished anything yet, so I don't have an update as far as what I have read necessarily. I have one more act in Othello to read, and I have gotten about halfway through, I guess, A Holiday for Murder by Agatha Christie. So I may or may not finish those this evening, tomorrow. We'll see. Probably not. I have a lot going on. Well, Othello I might finish, but probably not A Holiday for Murder. We'll see. But I did have a little bit of a library haul to show you because I put in requests for a whole bunch of books for Epistolary January, which, by the way, I got to thinking, okay, I'm getting so many of these books for Epistolary January. If I actually read them all, that's going to do significant damage to my goal of reading 50% of my books from my shelf. That's really not working, that goal, very well. But, you know, it's just 1 month, you know, I'll do better the month after that. Anyway, so my requests have been coming in. So at 2 different libraries. So I've been going to this library and that library as if I needed something else to do with my life this week. So let me show you the books that I've got from the library. Oh, the first one is not for January. I just happened to saw it when I was at the, I happened to see it when I was at the library picking up books I had requested. And I had seen a couple of booktubers talking about this one and enjoying it. So I decided to get it and see if I can fit it in for my Christmas reading. And that is The 12 Slaves of Christmas by Jacqueline Frost, which, I mean, Jacqueline Frost, it's so silly. So kind of gives you an idea of what the story is going to be like. So, but I'm looking forward to that. Once I'm finished with Othello and A Holiday for Murder, I'm not planning on reading anything very substantial for a week or so, unless I get an early start on something for Epistolary January. But anyways, so the rest of the books that I picked up were Positively Penelope, which I want to read. I have been wanting to read for a long time since I read Authentically Izzy, but January is the perfect time because this fits for the prompt of email, having, you know, modern forms of communication. So I'm definitely going to be reading that in January, or I hope to. It's on my short list. And then this one, I think Charlene at Coffee and a Book had mentioned this on a Discord conversation about Epistolary January. And I had heard of it before. And in fact, this is one of the books I think that I had in mind when I came up with the prompt, the email prompt. So this is the appeal, totally different vein. 1 murder, 15 suspects, can you uncover the truth? But apparently there are a lot of like emails and text messages or whatever telling the story. So that is intriguing to me. And I picked it up from the library just in case I am in the mood to pick that up. It's not a definite read, but it's definitely something that intrigues me. So I wanted to have it on hand. And then 84 Charing Cross Road. Now, ever since the hurricane, all I hear people pronouncing this name is Helene. I've never heard it pronounced Helene before then, but maybe that's because I don't hear it pronounced very often. And anyway, I would pronounce it either Helen or Helena. That's how I would pronounce it, but I don't know the correct pronunciation. Anyway, Helena, Helene, Helen, Hunt. 84 Charing Cross Road. I have wanted to read this for a long time. It seems like the ideal book for book lovers, and Epistolary January is a great time to read it. So finally picked up a copy of that. And I think I still have some more that I'm expecting to get at the library. Those were just the ones that were here, as well as Berlin Letters by Catherine Ray, which I picked up today, and I left it in the car, and I don't feel like going out in the cold to get it right now. But that one is also on my short list for January, and it fits the prompt airmail because it is set in Berlin. And then the other one that I picked up, I just saw it there and I hesitated because it's only a 14-day checkout and it cannot be renewed. So I have to read it within 2 weeks. And that just barely gets me to January. And this would be an Epistolary January week, but I may begin it the week after Christmas, or like, you know, in the days after Christmas, and still include it for Epistolary January, or not. It can just be a December book. It's a book I've been wanting to read since it came out, and so many people have been talking about it, and it sounds right up my alley for the most part. I'm not usually into like suspense or thriller or whatever, but the historical fiction aspect and all of that really appealed to me. Anyway, enough. This is The Frozen River by Ariel Lawhon. I have actually checked this out of the library before, but again, because it's so popular, I could only have it for 14 days and I just couldn't fit it in then. So I'm hoping, my intention is to do it this time. This is a good time of year to read it, and it does fit with Epistolary January. I believe there are some letters and things in here. I don't think it's all letters, but there are some letters in there. So it fits with the correspondence prompt. So I am interested in trying that one. I was at a thrift store today and they had some Christmas books set out. And I'm always looking at the Christmas ones because I don't have much of a collection. And also some Christmas books I feel like are kind of perennial. Like I want to keep the copies, you know, for years and years, like A Christmas Carol and that kind of thing, and the books I really enjoy. But and books I might read again, but a lot of Christmas books are one-off reads that are just fun reads in the moment, light reads, and I don't necessarily intend to keep them. So I kind of feel like every year as I see them available, like cheaply, I will just get them. And if I don't get to them this December, I'll get them to the next December, but keep like a rotating supply because I don't have room to store a lot of Christmas books. But if I can just rotate through, you know, the light fluffy reads, that would be good. But this one is one that I would keep. And that is this copy of A Child's Christmas in Wales by Dylan Thomas, which I really love the poem. And this is a really nice hardcover copy with illustrations. And I guess, I actually don't know, what would you call this? Essay? I mean, it's technically not really much of a poem, really. It's not a poetic structure. But it's very poetic. Anyway, really beautiful. So, and I don't know. I bought a shirt and 3 books. 2 of the other books were for Christmas presents, like stocking stuffers. And I paid $3 for all of it. So I don't even know. It's 50 cents maybe. So I was very pleased with that purchase, and that will be a nice addition to my Christmas collection. And again, I will hopefully finish Othello tomorrow, but I may not have time to film a review. Definitely not in time to edit it and get it sent off by Sunday. So I think that I will sign off for now for this weekly reading wrap up, and I will see you all next time. Let me know in the comments what your thoughts are about any of the books I hauled. or the little sneak peek you got at my plans for January, which my actual plans are forthcoming. I will be filming that video, and that will be going live this week, Thursday probably. So anyway, have a lovely week, and I will see you next time. Bye.